Power struggles, even if you win them, don't build teams. Most of us are taught, subtly or directly, that power is a zero-sum game, a game with winners and losers. Someone has to win, someone has to lose. And while we pretend we're above that, our egos push us there anyway. But the wisest and most effective leaders aren't playing that game at all. They're playing a different one, where no one has to lose for others to win. Welcome to the infinite game of power. Unfortunately, the win-lose mindset is deeply ingrained in us, and ironically, is less about wanting to win and more about fearing the shame of losing. That fear drives us to defend, to posture, and ultimately to disconnect. And we pay dearly with problematic relationships as well as decreased influence and productivity. That's not a good recipe for effective leadership. In this video, we will explore the situation of Alex, the leader who would be king. We'll look at the infinite game of power, how leaders shift from finite to infinite, and some caveats to care about. Alex is the new head of a large not-for-profit organization. We'll use him as a case in point. Alex's board chair hired me to work with him, although Alex's agreement to work with me was reluctant at best. I interviewed his team. The sobriquet used for him sums up their thoughts. They called him the ED who would be king. Any idea that worked was his idea. Any thought that was different from his was a wrong idea. Anything that went wrong was somebody else's fault. When I reported this to him, he was vehement that none of those accusations were true and were disrespectful to the power of his position as executive director and that they needed to learn their place. His anger seemed very much a reflection of his fear. Over the next few weeks, Alex and I spent a good deal of time together, including lunches and dinners. The first few sessions were about the win-lose mindset and how deeply ingrained it can be. We talked about how it's often less about wanting to win and more about fearing the shame of losing. We talked about its cost in relationships, influence, and productivity. Most impactful was the conversation we had about how he wanted a different and less tumultuous relationship with his 17-year-old son. From there, we began to discuss a different game, one where power isn't a prize to fight over, but a garden to grow. In the infinite game, the goal is not to win, but to assure that the game keeps going and to create ongoing value for everyone involved. Automobile dealers cluster together not to compete, but to raise traffic for all. Sports leagues design their rules to help every franchise succeed. Why? Because when one team fails, the whole system is threatened. Infinite power isn't just more ethical, it's more effective. Healthy teams, like healthy ecosystems, thrive when all members do. Alex began to see the light, which we applied first when we added his board chair to a couple of our discussions. He could now see that a partnership with the chair would be better than struggling with her. Adding that perspective to his staff was a little more difficult. At first glance, playing infinitely may seem difficult given that so many others are playing win-lose. Still, there are several things to do to make that shift. Here's how Alex turned the concepts of infinite play into actionable steps. You can use them as well. Start with intention. Consciously choose to play infinitely. Enter every interaction wanting everyone to leave with dignity and satisfaction. Be clear about what you want and be flexible enough to accept what works best for all. For Alex, keeping his job was a clear intention, which he now understood hinged on his intention to build healthy relationships with his staff and board. Build the strong relationships that are the lifeblood of infinite play. When you truly connect, trust builds. And with trust comes the freedom to learn, to stretch, and to disagree productively. Manage your ego. Your ego isn't a villain, but it can't be in charge. Your ego needs to be right to be seen to win. Infinite play asks for something different, to be connected, to be open, to be effective. Alex began the work of behaving from the understanding that healthy relationships would get him to where he wanted to go, faster than being right or powerful. He needed to notice his ego and manage it rather than be managed by it. With practice, he got better and better at this. Focus on the system's success. Managing his ego allowed Alex to focus less on those needs and more on the fact that he's part of a larger system that he depended on and that depended on him. We are not isolated parts, and we rise and fall as our systems rise and fall. Our success depends on our team's success, and the strength of our teams depend upon mutual support, not hostility. Check assumptions. Alex's assumptions range from his ideas about how to be a good leader to his negative assumptions about his people and their motives. Assumptions are easy, dialogue is harder and takes longer, but is more powerful and effective. For example, leaders often assume that silence is consent. Instead, it typically signals disagreement. Alex and I started conversations with individual team members to get this ball rolling. Then we got into doing the same thing in team meetings. Alex understood that clarity only comes when we listen deeply and check for accuracy. To get his followers to follow suit, he made the phrase, "Tell me how you know that," a regular part of his conversations. Alex shifted his attitude about feedback as well. He now sees feedback as a positive force. Feedback isn't about blame, it's about navigation. It helps you and your people stay on course. Build a support system. This is most important. None of us can successfully stop playing win-lose by ourselves. With just a bit of stress or when we've become complacent, our win-lose autopilot will click on. Trusted allies can pull us back. When I broached the topic of his support system, Alex was initially very reluctant. Wouldn't everyone see him as weak? Wouldn't seeking support make him vulnerable? As we worked through those faulty belief systems, he identified his wife and brother as possible sources of support. In-house, he began to see the board chair and the senior VP that he had brought in as possible supports. He had conversations with each about exactly what support would look like from them. Not surprisingly, each was very happy and relieved to be asked. They wanted him to succeed. Ask for their help before you need it. It's a part of the infinite play of mutual support. It certainly works to have a professional like me in your support system, but the power of people you respect and have explicitly contract with can be just as helpful. Here are some caveats to keep in mind where your support system would be doubly helpful. What if you're the only one playing infinitely? Good news, that's enough. You don't need permission to model curiosity, respect, and compassion. You'll be a great role model and others will come along. People follow their leaders. Most people don't play win-lose to dominate, they do it to protect themselves. When you listen, they soften. When you support, they respond. So be interested in, curious about, and appreciative of those who are trying to play win-lose with you. You'll be surprised the difference that will make. You can't control their behavior, but you can always choose your own. Intractable behavior that threatens to damage your team, a team member, or you must be turned away. and sometimes the most infinite act is to end a relationship. When values no longer align, when growth becomes impossible, or when harm outweighs health, ending a relationship is the choice for health, not loss. Infinite play honors everyone's right to grow, even if that means growing separately. 6 months after my conversations with Alex, we had dinner together. He shared that working with me had been like a kick in the pants that he very much needed. He also admitted that without his support system, he would have failed miserably. In closing, it's useful to remember that finite play ends with winners and losers, which always turns into everyone being a loser. Infinite play ends in shared success. If you want trust, innovation, and lasting influence, that is the game you need. Start with yourself. Choose connection over conquest, curiosity over judgment, and synergy over control. The infinite game of power begins with a choice, and you get to make that choice. See you next time in a video where we will discuss in some depth the steps that a leader can take to help facilitate turning conflict into synergy.